It started like any ordinary evening. A young woman, full of life, dressed for a night out, a first date, new possibilities. She shared her location with loved ones, just in case. It was something she always did, but by morning, her phone was silent. She never made it home, never showed up for work. And then, her car was found, burned. It was a trail of digital clues, severed timelines, and something far darker waiting beneath it all. This is not just a story about what was lost. It's a story about what was uncovered, and once you see how it unravels, you'll understand why no one in Milwaukee will ever forget the name, Sade Robinson. Welcome to Unveiled Crime Mysteries channel, where I unveil mysterious true crimes, some lost to time, others fresh in memory. Justice might not be served, but the shadow is unveiled. We begin in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, April 1st, 2024. A city alive with spring, perched on the edge of Lake Michigan. But beneath the usual hum of the day, a quiet story was about to unfold. One that would bring heartbreak, outrage, and questions that refused to die. Her name was Sade Robinson, 19 years old. Bright, driven, a smile you'd remember. That night she was heading out. It was something new, a first date. She left her flat. Her phone chirped on the Life 360 app. She always kept her family in the loop, safety first. The app showed her movements. First she stopped at Twisted Fisherman, a well-known seafood spot, then to a bar, Duke's on Water. After that, silence. Her phone went dark the next morning, April 2nd. She never turned up for work at Pizza Shuttle. Not like her at all. She always called, always messaged. Her co-workers were worried. They called police for a welfare check. Still nothing. Her mum, Sheena Scarborough, hadn't heard from her since Easter Sunday, March 31st. They'd shared a meal at her grandparents' house, laughed, took photos, hugged goodbye. She left with her sister Adriana. That hug was the last time Sheena saw her daughter. By April 3rd, police declared Sade critically missing. That meant real danger. Sade was born on 10 May 2004 in Vicksburg, Mississippi. She moved to Milwaukee before her second birthday with her mum. As a baby, she had hearing problems. She needed a procedure. It delayed her speech, but she pushed through it with help from therapists. Her childhood split between Milwaukee and Florida, where her dad, Carlos Robinson, lived. Her parents were never married, but they co-parented well. She was raised with love. In year 7, she moved to Florida full-time, but by 15, her mom noticed she wasn't okay. Her mental health was slipping. Her father's home life had become unstable. It wasn't safe. In 2019, Sade chose to return to Milwaukee. She wanted stability, her own future, on her terms. To her family, Sade was special, not just pretty, not just smart. She was kind, determined. She studied criminal justice at Milwaukee Area Technical College. She was weeks away from finishing her associate's degree. Her dream was to join the U.S. Air Force, just like her grandfather and uncle before her. She worked 2 jobs, Pizza Shuttle, Wisconsin Country Club. Colleagues adored her. Customers remembered her. She gave leftover pizza to homeless people outside the shop, always thinking of others. Her laugh could light up a room. Then she was gone. The shock hit hard. Her life was going somewhere. It made her disappearance all the more brutal. The community felt it. People rallied, but questions poured in. What really happened that night? Police traced her steps back. April 1st, she had plans with a man named Maxwell Anderson, 33 years old, a bartender. It wasn't their first meeting. Court files later showed they'd met days earlier, 29 March, at Victor's nightclub, where Anderson worked part-time. CCTV caught them leaving the bar together. They looked comfortable, friendly. Nobody knew exactly how they met. Maybe at Victor's, maybe at Twisted Fisherman, where he also worked. Her family had never heard of him. She hadn't mentioned him. But on April 1st, they were texting, making plans. At 4:15 p.m., Sade messaged a number, later linked to Anderson. "I'm feeling seafood," she suggested. Twisted Fisherman. They agreed on 5 p.m. She dressed casually, ripped jeans, white shirt, black jacket. She told her building secretary she was heading out for a date. She was excited. Surveillance at Twisted Fisherman showed them arriving together. They ate, they drank, they talked. Nothing seemed off. No signs of stress. Anderson looked relaxed. Sade seemed interested. They stayed for about 90 minutes. Then they left in Sade's car, a 2020 Honda Civic. Still, nothing unusual. Next stop, Duke's on Water, a lively pub downtown. They drank more, played beer pong. Anderson took extra shots. At 8:30 p.m., he stepped outside. At 9:03, they left together. CCTV caught them walking toward Anderson's house on South 39th Street. Life 360 confirmed it. At 9:24 p.m., Sade's phone pinged at his house. Quiet neighborhood, modest home. A neighbor's camera caught two figures, presumably Sade and Anderson, walking through the side yard into the house. Then the timeline goes dark. A light flickered on inside. Around 11:25 p.m., someone stepped outside, came back 20 minutes later. Movement continued until 12:47 a.m. when the Honda pulled away. Her phone's GPS showed the car driving through Milwaukee's city center, past her apartment, then north. By 1:33 a.m., it reached Pleasant Valley Park. By 2:45 a.m., it was at Warnemont Park, Cudahy. CCTV from the local high school showed the car heading toward the pump house. At 3:02 a.m., a lone figure was seen walking down a steep bluff to the lake. They went up, came down again, multiple times. By 4:31 a.m., the car left the park. Sade's phone died minutes later. Last known signal, near Warnemont Park. Then, morning came, April 2nd. At 7:32 a.m., firefighters responded to a burning vehicle near 30th and Lisbon, 10 miles from Anderson's house. It was Sade's Honda Civic. The inside was destroyed. Her clothes were found in the boot, same ones she wore on the date, alongside burned pieces of a phone. At the same time, Cudahy council workers noticed the gate at Warnemont Park was smashed open, looked like a car had rammed through. Then at 5:29 p.m., a chilling discovery. A leg severed at the hip lay down the bluff near the shoreline. Park visitor found it. Back at Pizza Shuttle, staff were already panicking. Sade's hadn't shown up the night before. They'd called police for a welfare check. Police searched her flat. No signs of a break-in. By April 3rd, Sade's Robinson was officially missing. And the leg, DNA testing confirmed it belonged to a black female, roughly 5 feet tall. The description matched Sade's. The horror had only just begun. Sheriff Danita Ball didn't mince words. To know someone has been dismembered in a fashion like that, our investigators want to find justice for the victim. Her message was clear. The case wasn't just urgent, it was haunting. Once the discovery at Warnemont Park was linked to Sade Robinson's disappearance, the city moved fast. People hit the streets, family, friends, strangers. They formed search teams. They combed through parks, woodlands, and any place mentioned in police reports. On April 5th, near 31st and Galena, not far from where her car was torched, they found more. A human foot. It was near the tracks, deep in a wooded area. They believed it matched the leg recovered earlier. The very next day, April 6th, more remains turned up. Bits of human tissue. Same area. Then April 7th, her family found something personal. Sade's blanket, left near 30th and Lisbon, a location police had already searched. It raised serious questions about how thorough those early searches really were. That car, the 2020 Honda Civic, was vital. At 7:32 a.m. on April 2nd, fire crews responded to a blaze in a car park on North 29th Street. It was Sade's car. It had been torched inside and out. A witness told investigators they saw a white man in a gray hoodie and tan backpack get out of the car. He tossed a lighter inside and walked away. The fire didn't destroy everything. In the boot, investigators found ripped jeans, a white shirt, the same outfit Sade wore on her date. They also found parts of a burned phone, believed to be hers. Then came a crucial break. Surveillance from a Milwaukee County bus showed a man matching the witness's description. He boarded at 8:23 a.m., got off near his house just 12 minutes later. That same hoodie, gray distinctive, was later found in his car during a traffic stop. That footage would become one of the cornerstones of the case. Earlier that same morning, at 2:45 a.m., security cameras at Cudahy High School, right near Warnemont Park, captured a car heading toward the pump house. A few minutes later, a lone figure was seen descending the bluff to the beach. They made several trips up and down. The car didn't leave until 4:31 a.m. Sade's phone data told the same story. It stopped moving at Warnemont. Battery died at 4:36 a.m. Together, the footage and digital data formed a devastating timeline. Milwaukee County Assistant District Attorney Ian Vance Curzon later told jurors, "The evidence in this case is going to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Maxwell Anderson intentionally killed Sade and then sought to have her disappear from this world." On April 4th, police executed a search warrant at Anderson's house on South 39th Street. What they found was chilling. Blood on a comforter in the bedroom, blood smeared on walls down to the basement, petrol cans in the garage. They also found a knife in the kitchen sink, a black axe mounted on the living room wall, hidden women's clothing tucked between foundation beams, and an ID card belonging to a woman but not Sade. The knife wasn't alone. Detectives counted more than 50 blades in that house. But then came a twist. Early forensic tests showed that the blood didn't match Sade Robinson. It made everything murkier. Still, the community pressed on. They refused to give up. On April 18th, a torso and an arm washed ashore on a beach in South Milwaukee. Then on May 11th, a right arm surfaced in Waukegan, Illinois. Both were presumed to be Sade's. The sheriff's office coordinated with 13 other agencies and a search and recovery nonprofit called Bruce's Legacy. They carried out extensive water searches on Lake Michigan. On April 29th, they returned to Warnemont Park by boat. No new remains were found, but by then they had their man. On April 4th, at 1:16 p.m., Anderson was arrested during a traffic stop. The hoodie, the footage, the timeline, it had all piled up. As the community demanded justice, investigators turned their attention to Anderson's past. What they found painted a troubling picture. Maxwell Stephen Anderson was born on November 1st, 1990. At the time of his arrest, he was 33, raised in Milwaukee, working-class roots, South Side home. He worked behind the bar, places like Victor's nightclub and Twisted Fisherman. People said he was sociable, a familiar face in the nightlife scene. But the deeper they dug, the darker it got. In 2014, he was convicted of disorderly conduct after a bar fight. In 2019, he was charged with battery and second-degree reckless endangerment. He'd attacked his sister's boyfriend with a baseball bat. He pleaded down. In 2021, he was convicted again for breaking a man's nose outside another bar. The pattern was clear: a man prone to violence, especially in social settings. His private life gave little away. No wife, no kids, family ties, yes, but often marked by conflict. One woman who once dated him spoke to 12 News. She said he seemed off, unstable, always starting odd projects like digging a giant hole in his back garden and never finishing it. He invited her into his basement once. She declined, called it creepy. When police brought him in, Anderson said nothing, not a word. He exercised his right to remain silent, offered no defense, no comment on the blood, no explanation for the footage, nothing about the car. But investigators uncovered something strange, a message he sent to Sade's phone at 10 a.m. on April 2nd. "How's your day going?" To prosecutors, it looked like an attempt to cover his tracks. On April 12, 2024, the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office filed charges, 3 felonies, first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, hiding a corpse, plus a misdemeanor charge for arson. His bail was set at $5 million.
The homicide charge was the most serious in Wisconsin. It carried a life sentence with no chance of parole. The criminal complaint didn't hedge its language. It claimed Anderson killed Sade Robinson, then dismembered her and scattered her remains to hide the crime. But there were still gaps. No murder weapon was ever recovered. No exact cause of death could be determined. The condition of her remains made it impossible. The motive, still unclear. They weren't in a relationship. They barely knew each other. Prosecutors could only speculate that something escalated during their date. Then came a disturbing revelation. A confidential informant told police they'd been in Anderson's home on March 5th, weeks before the murder. He reportedly showed them a basement setup, plastic tarp across the ceiling, the floor, even the walls, a sanitation sink. According to their statement, Anderson said he planned to kill Sade Robinson, using a gun to get her downstairs. If true, it suggested premeditation, but prosecutors admitted they couldn't fully verify the informant's claim. Still, the case was now heading to trial, and the weight of everything, the footage, the timeline, the silence, was building toward one conclusion.
Long before Sade vanished, the informant claimed Anderson confessed to planning her murder and dismemberment. Prosecutors were cautious. Assistant District Attorney Ian Vance Curzon said the idea of such premeditation seemed strange without hard proof, but it was out there now, on record. Anderson's arrest on April 4, 2024, marked a turning point. But nothing from this point was easy. The charges were devastating. First-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, hiding a corpse, and arson. Anderson kept silent, said nothing, and in that silence, the evidence had to speak for itself. Milwaukee waited. The case was heading to trial, and for Sade's family, it meant facing it all again. The trial began on May 27, 2025. Officially, it was the state of Wisconsin versus Maxwell Anderson. Judge Laura Crivello presided. Jury selection was careful. Out of 73 possible jurors, 12 were chosen. 9 women, 3 men, 2 of them were black, 3 alternates stood by. Nearly everyone had heard the story. Sade's name had been in the news for over a year. Defense attorney Jonathan Lavoie said, "It's all but certain some jurors will have at least some knowledge of the case," and pushed for fairness. Only those who could remain impartial would be kept. Opening statements came the next day, May 28th, and they wasted no time. Prosecutor Ian Vance Curzon stood before the jury and said, "Maxwell Anderson intentionally killed Sade and attempted to make her disappear from this world. What Maxwell Anderson did to Sade Robinson was an intentional homicide. There is no question behind the intent, and there's no question about the person responsible for doing it. The killer is him. He's the last person to be with her, the last one texting her, the last one whose residence she was at, the last one who had her car, the last one who had her phone, the last one who was with her." The defense pushed back. Anthony Cotton said the case lacked direct evidence. No murder weapon, no cause of death, no blood in the house that matched Sade. He told jurors to look closely at the timeline. He told them to question the state's assumptions. Reasonable doubt, he said, was all that was needed. For 7 days, prosecutors laid out their case. Witness after witness, police, experts, Sade's co-workers. They mapped the timeline. They showed surveillance footage from Twisted Fisherman, from Dukes on Water, Sade and Anderson together on April 1st. No question, they showed the Life 360 data, tracking her phone to his home. Then to Warnemont Park, they showed bus footage placing Anderson near where her car was burned. And then, one image stood out, a photo found on Anderson's phone. Prosecutor Vance Curzon described it to the jury. Sade, face down on his couch, Anderson's hand on her. Cotton argued it wasn't clear if she was alive or not, but the image lingered. Detectives described what they found at his house: the hoodie that matched surveillance, the weapons, the layout, the hidden clothing. The assistant medical examiner, Dr. Lauren Decker, described the autopsy as very unusual. There were too many missing parts. It took months. The cause of death officially was homicide by unspecified means. The defense called no witnesses. Anderson did not testify. Cotton said that was deliberate to avoid the risks of cross-examination. On June 5th, closing arguments wrapped. The prosecution drove the point home again. There is no question about the person responsible for doing it. The defense said the case still had holes. No witnesses saw a struggle. Anderson didn't try to hide on the bus. Nothing had been proven beyond doubt. Deliberation began. It lasted just 45 minutes over 2 days. On June 6, 2025, the jury delivered their verdict. Guilty on all counts. First-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, hiding a corpse, arson. Anderson didn't react as the judge read the verdict. But outside the courtroom, Sade Robinson's family did. Her mother, Sheena Scarborough, broke down in tears. They embraced in the hallway. The weight of the verdict hit hard. Sentencing was set for 15 August 2025. The law was clear. In Wisconsin, a conviction for first-degree intentional homicide means life in prison, no parole. But justice, to her family, felt like a myth. Sheena told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, "There's no such thing as justice. We don't have her." Carlos Robinson, Sade's father, told Fox 6 News, "It's the most agonizing, painful thing," and said he'd keep fighting for her legacy. In June 2024, before the trial even began, the family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Anderson. They also filed a civil suit against the bars where Anderson and Sade drank. Both places had served her alcohol, despite her being underage. The community never let go. Pink balloons, ribbons, her favorite color. They filled parks and lampposts. Vigils were held, candles lit, and yet, even with a verdict, so much stayed unknown. Why did he do it? The motive was never confirmed. No clear reason, no sign of obsession, just a few casual encounters. Maybe something went wrong on the date. Maybe we'll never know. But her family won't stop. They carry her memory, her light. They speak her name, and they fight so others won't face what they have. Thank you for watching. If you felt touched by this case, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think drove this tragedy? Until next time, there's always another case to be unveiled. Remember,